This is the INTEX 26373EH Ultra XTR rectangular above-ground swimming pool set. And it is the first above-ground pool that actually made my backyard feel like a real swim space. The footprint is big, the water feels stable, and the whole setup gives you that close to an in-ground experience without the contractor, concrete, or weeks of waiting. I see this as a serious family pool for people who have the space and want something dependable that they can actually use, not just look at. If you host friends, have kids who love to swim, or you want room to do lazy laps without bouncing off a circular wall, this rectangular design makes a noticeable difference. It is not a tiny splash pool. It is a substantial, purpose-built swim area that feels adult-friendly but still safe and approachable for kids. On the outside, the frame is a coated galvanized steel that locks together with a push-pin and collar system, so there are no loose nuts and bolts to fiddle with. The exterior has a graphite gray finish that blends well with most backyards and does not scream toy. Inside, the liner has a blue tile print that looks welcoming, and it is a thick 3-layer polyvinyl chloride material. That triple layer build matters. You can feel that extra stiffness when you are pushing the walls into place. Over time, the inside blue does lighten from sun, which is normal with vinyl pools, but it does not look shabby. The rectangular footprint is long and wide enough for real swimming. This one measures roughly 32 feet by 16 feet, with a water depth a little over 4 feet when filled to the line. That depth is important for families. It is deep enough for adults to float and move freely, but shallow enough that supervised older kids can stand along most of the interior. The kit includes a ladder, a cover, and a ground tarp. The ladder is fine to start with. It does the job. If you have lots of energetic swimmers or you want extra stability, a heavier aftermarket ladder later on gives you more confidence. The included sand filtration system is what I would call a sensible starting point, and it pairs well with the aeration feature that mixes air into the return water. That aeration helps with clarity and circulation, and I did notice fewer dead zones where debris could settle. Setting this pool up taught me that the real work is not the frame. It is the ground. The manual suggests you can be ready for water in about an hour or so. If your yard is already perfectly level and you have done it before, maybe. In real life, the smart move is to spend your time getting the base right. I raked, tamped, and checked level many times, because a pool this size will show every inch of tilt. Once I had the area flat, I laid 1-inch foam insulation boards under the entire liner. That foam is a game changer for comfort and protection. It turns the floor into a soft, uniform surface, and it helps shield the liner from small rocks or sticks. After that, assembling the frame was straightforward. 2 people can do it. 3 makes it smooth. The horizontal beams slide into sleeves on the liner, the vertical legs click into place, and the easy lock pins make a solid connection without tools. The pool itself is heavy when boxed, so decide on your final location before you start. I also put wide concrete pavers under each vertical leg. That spreads the weight and keeps the legs from sinking into softer ground over time. It is a simple step that pays off, especially after rain. Filling takes a while because you are moving more than 14,000 gallons of water. Once full, I let the pump run, checked for slow drips on the fittings, and started building a routine. The included sand filter moves around 2,800 gallons per hour, and that is enough to keep things clear for normal family use, especially with the aeration running. If your yard gets a lot of dust or pollen, or you plan to host big groups, a larger filter and pump combo makes maintenance easier. After my first season, I upgraded to a 24-inch sand filter paired with a 1.5 horsepower pump. With that setup, backwashing is less frequent, the water turns over faster, and the whole system feels like it barely breaks a sweat even after a busy weekend. In daily use, the pool feels stable, quiet, and predictable. The frame does not creak, the walls stay taut, and the water has that steady, even motion you want for floating, playing, and lap strokes. The hydro aeration feature sounds fancy, but in practice it adds tiny bubbles at the return, which improves circulation and makes the water look brighter. That little sparkle is real, and it helps bring fine debris toward the filter. Skimming the surface a few times a week and vacuuming the bottom on weekends became my routine. With a sand filter, maintenance is simple. When the pressure gauge climbs, backwash, rinse, and go back to filter mode. I found a rhythm with chemicals too. Testing once or twice a week and making small adjustments keeps surprises to a minimum. This is not a set-and-forget product, but with a schedule it is very manageable. Durability has been a highlight. The coating on the steel frame resists rust far better than the older pool models I grew up with. Rain, sprinklers, and even a couple of snowstorms did not cause flaking or bubbling. I winterize without taking the structure down. I lower the water below the skimmer, remove and store the pump and hoses, open the plugs to allow expansion, and secure the cover. We had a hard freeze with heavy snow last year. Nothing warped, nothing tore, and the liner was fine when I reopened in spring. The liner itself is thick and tough, but I keep pets and sharp tools away from the walls out of common sense. There is a repair patch included. I have not needed it and I would like to keep it that way. Let me give you a specific use case. I host family Sundays through the summer. We set up a volleyball net across the middle, move the ladder to a corner, and let the kids and cousins go to town. The rectangular shape makes proper lanes for play. You are not bumping into a curved edge every few seconds, and there is enough room for everyone to find their space. When the game wraps up and the grill is going, I flip on the pump, drop in a few skimmer socks to catch sunscreen residue and grass clippings, and by evening the water looks polished again. The next morning, I will do a quick skim and a vacuum pass, and the pool is back to that clear blue you want to jump into. Another scenario is solo laps in the morning. I am not talking Olympic training, but I can get a legit low-impact workout along the long side without turning every second. The depth feels secure, and the foam base underfoot gives a gentle cushion when you push off. In the evening, the pool becomes a quiet spot to float and unwind. The water movement from the return is gentle and consistent, and the sound of it spilling back into the pool is oddly relaxing. There are a few quirks. The ladder does its job but flexes more than I like when a heavier adult climbs in. A more robust ladder later on solves that. The inside blueprint will fade to a lighter shade after long, hot summers. It does not change the experience, but if you expect showroom colors forever, vinyl will not give you that. The factory pump and filter are adequate, not heroic. They can handle normal use. But if your environment is dusty or you want crystal water without babying the system, upgrading the filter and pump after a season is worth it. The time estimate in the manual for setup is optimistic. Plan extra hours for leveling, especially if you do not have a concrete pad. And if your soil is soft, do not skip the pavers under the legs. They keep the structure aligned over the long haul. What feels smart on this pool is how the simple things are executed. The easy lock frame pieces actually line up and click in without wrestling, which removes the most frustrating part of a big assembly. The rectangular footprint uses space efficiently. You get long, straight runs for swimming and a big central area for games. The triple-layer polyvinyl chloride liner has enough heft that it does not ripple like a thin tarp every time someone cannonballs. The hydro-aeration at the return adds a subtle improvement in clarity with zero extra effort. The drain port on the side makes end-of-season water management straightforward. These are not flashy tricks, but they add up to a pool that is pleasant to live with. Who should consider this set? If you have a big enough backyard for a 32 by 16 foot rectangle and you want a pool that feels substantial without the commitment of digging, this is a strong option. If you are brand new to above-ground pools, plan your base carefully. Add foam boards under the liner, put pavers under the legs, and set a simple maintenance routine. If you already know your way around pool care, the included components will get you swimming quickly, and you can upgrade the filter and pump when you are ready. I recommend it for families who want room to really swim, for people who entertain often, and for anyone who values a sturdy structure that holds up through multiple seasons. It is not for small yards, it is not for folks who want zero maintenance, and it is not for someone who expects a half-hour setup and instant water clarity with no effort. Treated right, it rewards you with a clean, spacious pool that feels far more premium than the term above ground might suggest. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one, and drop your questions or your own pool tips in the comments. Thank you for watching.